We are live. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review, your original weekly series on all things Bluebeam. I'm Jason Hartley here with Michael Ashave, and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about dashboards inside of Bluebeam Revu. And as always, this is all about the community. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, send them on over. If you're on YouTube, you can type in your comments and they are relayed to us over here on Zoom. And if you're on Zoom, please use the question and answer panel to get those questions routed over to us. Good morning, Michael. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm all right.
We haven't done this in a little bit, but maybe we should do some little background of what we do in our primary discipline. It's been a little bit
Okay.
as we get ready to kind of kick it off more towards specific items. But I feel like reintroducing, there's some new names here. For those of us that have been here for a while, you're going to be like, oh, we know you are. My primary background is structural design. I'm a senior AEC technical specialist here at ATG. What about you, Jason?
I'm a civil guy. I'm also a senior technical specialist here at ATG. I handle mostly the civil things, so Civil 3D, InfraWorks, AutoCAD, Navisworks, and then Bluebeam and Esri as well. I did technically go to architectural school, and my degree is in architectural drafting, but I never really used it. So I've always been civil.
I didn't know we were going to talk about all these softwares and stuff, Jason. You make me feel like I didn't add enough.
Well, I'm not on the Bluebeam blog like you are, so there's that. So
thank you.
If you haven't noticed, the new edition of the Bluebeam blog came out yesterday, and it has an article that has our boy Michael here. And it's all about dashboards and how they can help you, and we're going to dive deeper into that subject today.
Yep. So we timed it. Built blog, if you haven't seen it from Bluebeam, is great for tips and tricks. They did an edition on digital dashboards. I also have a white paper on digital dashboards, so if you want to head over to my LinkedIn or any of the resources at atgusa.com, feel free to and check out the white paper. I highly suggest it after doing this, the download. I'm guessing somebody just posted in the chat if I'm incorrect.
Yep, CJ put the link to the Bluebeam blog up there.
So that's the blog, and then we'll post the white paper. Again, you can go to our LinkedIn, my LinkedIn, or ATG has posted it too as well for dashboards or our resources. There's a white paper on digital dashboards detailing how to create digital dashboards. It's a free download. You just have to put in your name and I think your company and some email stuff. Just give us a little info, and then we'll give you something for free.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Great. So we are going to kick it off with digital dashboards. Some of us may have seen them. Some of us may have not seen them. I prefer to use my digital dashboards in projects. So Studio Projects is an online, is a cloud-based storage solution that Revu has to offer. It is free with any version of Revu. It's not edition specific, and it's unlimited storage. It's any file size. The reason why I prefer to have it in a project is I don't have to worry about broken links. I do know and have talked to people that have used it with Google Drive, so feel free to use Google Drive. You just have to be wary about links as well with that, because you can open to a URL when you're using links. Just be aware that things break when things aren't working. So I prefer Studio Project. It keeps it all in one area. You can invite project members to the project that don't have a license of Revu, because they can download a free 30-day trial. After the 30-day trial, it turns into view mode, and that allows them to still access Studio Projects. So you don't have to worry about not paying for a license if some project partner or maybe the owner isn't using Bluebeam Revu. They can download that free trial. When you invite them, it even indicates them to download that trial as well. You may just have to walk them through logging into Studio. I'm going to show what a dashboard is, since everyone's probably like, hey, Mike, this is great and all, but what are dashboards? So I am actually going to open up, let's see here. Maybe I'll open up.
I know you got a few of them to show us. And dashboards are one of those things I didn't know that they existed. And I was on a call and someone was talking about dashboards. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I had Michael show me the light, and now I've started using them more and more. And coming from the Esri side of things, where the dashboards are pretty intense over there, that's what I was wondering. Like, how could you possibly do that in Bluebeam Revu? But as we're going to see here, it can do some really cool stuff.
Yes,
I'm excited to see what examples you've got to show us.
So I've logged into Studio. For those of us that haven't logged into Studio before, you can always sign in with a created username, email address, and a password. It's called a Bluebeam ID. That's how you log into a lot of things using or around Bluebeam. Once you log in, you'll have access to either Studio or Studio Projects or Studio Sessions. Sessions is more of like the old whiteboard that you could flip around, and right, the chalkboard that you could drag around on the wheels. That's what I like to reference. And then Projects is like a piece of paper with some writing on it. Now in there, you'll see your list of projects if you've been invited to, or you can create a project by hitting add. We're not going too in depth with projects right now, but just kind of going a little bit of an overview. You'll then see the ones that you've been added to. I have one here, so I'm going to close the Studio panel. If you do not see your Studio panel, you can always right click in the panel area. And when it says show, you can find the Studio button here, or Alt plus C for the hotkey. We can't learn hotkeys. Well, I guess we can, but I prefer not to so that I don't use it and clients are like, oh, how'd you do that? So I'm in the project now of this specific one. I'm going to open a PDF up. We have some questions here.
I'll pass that over to you.
Okay. So as I'm going through, let me run through a little bit of the folder structure. So we're going to go through a little bit of the folder structure here. This is just native file structure that you have. You can drag and drop all of your files directly from some kind of template that you have in Windows Explorer. They maintain their subfolders or their dependent folders of what they've had before, so you don't have to worry too much about restructuring your folders. Get it all organized in File Explorer, and then drag and drop it into a project. And then from there, you can start building out a dashboard. You want to have your end goal in sight. So I like to always have my folders first so I can look and see what I need to get to. Then I can start going and moving forward on how I want to create my original home page on my dashboard. And then I'll start building these things out. But you're probably still wondering, what are you talking about these dashboards? I'm actually going to open up another one because that one actually has we'll just stay here actually. So as you go through here, we can see some of these icons. We'll go here because I like the buttons.
So this is a dashboard.
Yes. So this
when
is
we're talking about dashboards, this is what we're looking at.
Yep. This is a home page of a dashboard. So what I can do here is I can go through and click buttons to gain access to my PDFs. It's a more visual, inviting interface. Instead of having to go through the clunky File Explorer, try to navigate through my files, click the wrong folder, back out, go through, oh, it's not in that folder, it's in another subfolder, or maybe I didn't have my file structure named properly, right? We can have thousands of documents for a build, and how are we going to go through and navigate them and coordinate them? And another one would be, how are we going to get them the most updated sets? We don't have to worry about that because it can be in the dashboard. Whoever's managing the dashboard can start updating the PDFs wherever their location resides, like in a project, right? So I could be the MEP team or the structural team. Jason's the civil team. I can also play the part of architectural team. If I'm dumping in documents here, if I'm managing those three disciplines, Jason's managing his discipline, I don't have to worry about all the subs, the GCs, worrying about where my documents latest and greatest are, because I'm going to be dumping them right into my dashboard. They're going to have access to the latest and greatest as well moving forward, because they're going to log in and it's going to be all of the up-to-date PDFs that are going to be in here. It's the same settings that you've had in Studio Projects before. There's some blogs that we've posted about Studio Projects. There's webinars we've done on Studio Projects. If we need to revisit here, we can run on how Studio Projects works. It's the same way Studio Projects has always worked. You're just using this digital dashboard that you're going to create in here. So how do digital digital dashboards work and what do they look like? So they're clickable buttons, just going through, seeing actions as you navigate through your PDF. So it's simply a PDF with actions. So when I go through here, I can say, hey, here's my home page. Maybe I need to get access, right, to my drawings. So I'm going to go to my drawings here. Now, what drawings do I want to go to from here? I want to go to my architectural drawings. Great. Which architectural drawings do I want to see now? Oh, I want to see my first floor drawings. Great. There's no PDFs in there, but hey, you know what? Maybe the architectural team hasn't created those first floor PDFs, and once they do get uploaded, they're going to be uploaded to here. So as you can see, it jumped to a folder. That's what you want these to do. When the actions happen, they shouldn't be jumping to a PDF in particular. They should be jumping to a folder. Now, Jason, why do you think that might be?
Why?
Oh, okay. So if no, you're good. So PDFs, right? If I jump to a PDF and someone updates it, what do you think is going to happen to the link?
It's going to break.
Yep.
Because so it's going to lose that.
Yep, that connection, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. So if I update to a folder, it's not going to be the same file. I mean, a file or PDF, it's going to be a different file extension, right? So if I jump to a folder where that file lives, I have a better chance, right? So it can be a dynamic dashboard versus just the static one.
Which is always important for something like this when you're looking to give people access to the latest and greatest information and not have to question things.
Exactly. So there wasn't one there. I know I have some in the RFI folders. So let me step back, go to the RFI folders. So to the RFIs here, I have RFI 100 through 149. Again, see how I named these. Well, see how these were named in this particular dashboard, numbered through 50, right? So it has a folder. You'd probably have RFI 100 through 149 that jumps to that folder. And then in that folder, 50 or 49 of them live there. Does that make sense? So when I click on this, it's going to open up to that folder. Then I can open up that PDF and hit OK. Now I have this PDF open for my RFIs, and I can go through the RFI 100. It's still in the dashboard, right? I mean, still in the project. So again, back to those nuances of what the project is. If I need to work on it, I have to check it out. If I'm just looking at it, I'm just looking at the PDF here. Your next question may be, well, what if I'm looking at this PDF and, Joe over there on the site is trying to also gain access to the RFI? Guess what? In Studio Projects for PDFs, 2 people can have the same PDF open, 3 people can have the same PDF open, 4 people can have the same PDF open at the same time. So you don't have to worry about those nuances that Windows has natively. That's why I prefer putting in a Studio Project, not just for the cloud solution, but also because, hey, I'm not Windows locked out of my PDF because someone else is in it, right?
So you mentioned earlier that you could link to a Google Drive. Would that work with SharePoint? Would that be an option there?
So I haven't personally used SharePoint yet. I do know Revu has integrated SharePoint, right? Yes, they have. Yes. So I'm always up to try if you want to reach out. I just personally haven't worked with SharePoint. How actions work, though, let me explain it that way. Is you get the ability to jump to somewhere, jump to a URL, or jump and open a file that's just natively saved on your desktop, right? Well, you can jump to a page, a space, a snapshot.
Right.
Great. So let's go through. I have a home button. Hey, I also have a weather because, again, URL, that's what we were talking about. And some of us also know that Revu has a search engine in it. And then maybe my internet's not the greatest right now. I don't know why it's not going. But it jumps to URLs, maybe the phone list. So, hey, I need to contact somebody. Great. Here's my phone list. Again, I'm just jumping through these PDFs that I have set up in this document. There's only 7 of them here. So as I'm jumping through, I'm going through these areas. Now I know who I need to call, right? Or guess what? You can actually have buttons that have flyouts. Look at that. We're not going to cover. Cool. Yeah, we're not going to cover this today because it's about JavaScripting and using buttons specifically. But if you'd like, We can always do a one-on-one session where we're talking about this and some more in-depth training. It's definitely a more in-depth training in terms of how we code our documents with buttons, right? So you can click things that have flyouts with them. Again, creating that more inviting environment, more intense environment. Now let's go back to, oh, look at my internet finally loaded. Great, there's my URL. I had one open here. This one actually has some images attached to it. So now we're kind of taking back that onion layer. So we were at the finished, nicely combed over PDF set. That one was flattened, right? So our buttons actually, when I clicked on something, it seemed as if it was a button, right? Now this is more of the going a little bit more deeper. Okay, we saw that great, pretty one. It's all done. But what did it look like right before then? So you can see there's actions assigned to things in here. So they have the thunderbolt. When you flatten an action, it becomes a clickable area. So I can click it and then it brings me to somewhere, right? So whatever you assign the action to becomes clickable, the whole area, right? So here you can see things aren't flattened. So I'm still in this phase right before I'm about to turn it out, but I also have some 3D images. So I drew around here. You have some lines as you look through here. And what it actually lets me do is when I click this little icon, I also have 3D photos. So you can also take, well, they're 2D, but 360, right? Yeah, I said it wrong. 360 photos. If you ever have a camera that can take 360 photos, you can actually insert them too. So if you're worried about something happening on the site, you can have 3D photos in here. Again, you can attach notes just like you've always done in Revu. So you can take this thing even to the next level if you wanted to, right? Just adding things in that you have natively in Revu.
That is too cool. So you're saying when you flatten this, all the little check marks and photo icons are going to disappear, but they're still going to work?
Yes. Well, they're not, it's not a check, but yeah.
Or lightning bolt.
It's a lightning bolt, yeah. Because they're actions. So let's go through. I had one open. Oh, did I close out of all my example? Shouldn't have. I might have.
All right, well, while you're finding that, I'm going to answer a couple of the questions that have come in. So one of the questions from Brian, is there any way to maintain projects and sessions for users en masse? For example, a firm rebrands to a new domain and everyone has a new email address. And so essentially, can Bluebeam IDs be updated and maintained? This is kind of a tricky one because usually it's the user themselves who's creating that Bluebeam ID and their own password, and that part isn't managed by an administrator. But I believe there will be some of that capability through Prime. Is that correct? Or would you have to have the enterprise?
Well, you can't manage individual Bluebeam IDs. That's the issue. That's what I heard.
Oh,
I believe I heard you said, right?
Yes, that's what they're after.
Yeah, no, that's individual user by their email address. You can't override that access. When you're inviting somebody to Studio Prime, you're inviting them by their email address to become and understand their data, right?
Right.
So like always, we can totally go off tangent, completely fine. Let me go to Studio Prime here because maybe we haven't used it before.
Can the users themselves make the change and maintain their studios? That's a good question, actually. Thanks for that, Brian. Because yeah, if you have the same ID, say you change firms or you don't want to use your personal ID or whatever, can that be changed later on? I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, you just create a new ID, right, through a different email. So that's why you use your work email and not your personal email. When you're in your personal email, you can then change it however you'd like. Your Bluebeam ID is tied to you. Now, the question may be, what if the domain goes away? Can I still log into that? I don't know. So that would be a question we can definitely get answered. I don't know the answer. If the domain goes away, can I still get access to it, right? So if you leave a company and your at whatever goes away, can I still get access to it? I don't know. But so we're in Studio Prime right now. And we have, I want to say we have about, we'll just ballpark it, 100 users in Revu, right? But as you can see, they're not in here. They're not being logged. That's because you have to invite individual users to start gaining information from them. So I'll go to users here. These are all invited members, not collaborators. So these 6 of us have invited 67 people to our sessions. But these are our members that we're logging data from, right? So as you go through here, we can go and see, like myself, I invited, and I can see what projects I specifically own, what projects I've attended, what sessions I've owned, and which sessions I'm attending. Because I've invited me, so I can invite somebody in.
And you're talking sessions only, not projects.
There was projects in here.
Okay.
Too. Yeah, projects and sessions.
Since we're taking a little detour off of our dashboards, because this is what we do every week, we answer questions because the topic that we chose for like dashboards is just our filler, and we'll go back to talking about that, but we're here for answer any questions. So while we're on this topic, there's another question that's somewhat related to this, coming from David. Is there a white paper on backing up studio projects and documents? And I don't think we have a white paper for it, but it's a really good idea. But I believe some of that capability is in here, isn't it?
So
if you're the owner,
you could leverage the API, right? So if you wanted to, you could create a subscript of some sort that leverages and pulls and pushes data. But backing up is a manual thing currently. Yes, you save down the entire folder structure, which you can in Revu do. So in a studio, I need to get out of some of these things. Okay, so
you got a lot more than I do. Holy mountain.
Yeah. From here, I can actually do an entire download of the folder. So you don't have to right click, download one copy. You can actually click the hierarchy parent folder and download the copy. Can you do this too? You can even download the whole file share here. I didn't do that before, so I didn't know that. That's great. So download the whole file share, which is actually the actual parent.
And will that make a zip file automatically, or what's that going to do? So when you,
I don't know.
Should ask you to save, hopefully.
Select a folder, desktop. I hope it doesn't pull all of these individually, but it probably is.
Oh yeah, look at that. So it's just ripping through everything, and it's keeping the native file type. So it's probably just putting a folder in there. That might take a while. So that very cool. So I don't know if we need a white paper on that, David, but perhaps the whole management of things could possibly be a topic for one Michael or I to steal in future when we're creating stuff.
So you can automate it. You'd have to leverage Studio Prime. It does have open API through Studio Prime. And that's how you would automate it to rip it down to like a server somewhere and have a backup. Yeah, that's my answer.
Good enough. I like it. Well, thanks for showing that. You want to jump back to dashboards now?
Yep. No other questions? Okay.
Keep coming. I mean, we're happy to talk about any particular topic. But I have my own question, and I'm waiting for one of these dashboards to pop up, so there's something to talk about.
Okay. So this is an empty blank dashboard. I saw your face. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I was like, is this not loading?
Yep. So this is, well, actually, let's just show another one because this doesn't have to be for a project, right? So we'll show our internal one, which is pretty cool as well. So we have an internal one for our use that someday when we finally get everything ironed out, Jason's team will also be invited. It's currently just internal architectural team. But aside from all of that explanation here, we also have one as well. And I need to do the full page so it doesn't look super weird. Let me drag this over.
Super jealous already.
So it could be for
Expert.
internal documents, right? So here at ATG, we don't just do Bluebeam. We also do Autodesk products. We do training. We do Panzura. Do a lot of things here. So and we also
Inbox
do design
computers.
work, Bimbox. Yep. Keep going down the line, Jason, if I'm missing any.
Production services. I mean, come on, we do
Yep.
it all.
Production services. So we do it all. Anyways, going back to this helps us stay organized internally. So if we need to gain access to particular documents, again, we could use this for it as well. It doesn't have to be for a project, right? And that's what some folks think in terms of what we've showed so far. And that's what this can elevate it to the next level in terms of internal, right? So only so far we have architectural. I looped my structural stuff under our architectural umbrella because that's how we have it here as well. So when I click architectural here, I can go and look for maybe training outlines, and boom, here's all of my training outline subfolders that I can go through here and look for those training outlines. I can see the jealousy just falling off your face right now. Or data sets. Maybe I need to get access to particular data sets that I want to go through and grab some of those. So again, I have access to these folders. I don't have to go and looking on my subserver where I don't know where somebody stored it, somebody saved it, because guess what? I have this lovely visual interface here that's going to show me where things are at.
Question about this. Open that up again. That checkout at open button down at the bottom.
Yes.
Would somebody want to click on that?
So checkout on open is specifically if you're going to edit it, right? So as you click it, you're checking it out like a book because you want to modify that document. If you don't want to modify it, then you're going to just open it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Alrighty, so let's go back and start peeling back and start at the beginning. So I'm going to, I had a lot of these removed. I exited out to just go to our dashboard, so I apologize. Let me.
So I think you're going to answer the question already. I'm guessing if I can see your workflow right here. And one of them that I had was, where did you get those great images? Had the little telephone logo and they had the weather.
So I have some, but also this one that we created here, well, that I created, you can do two things. You can create it natively with what you want out of Revu, or you can do it in PowerPoint. So this one that I created for ATG here was actually done in PowerPoint. So this one, just be aware when you're creating things in PowerPoint because you get more graphic-y, I guess you would say, right? Because you have like the transition colors here. Just be aware when you do it in PowerPoint that these aren't seen as individual buttons or markups, right? Because that's what you use for our things here. So you have to create like this is a text that covers the whole area here, the box. So you just have to get a little bit more creative when you're creating it from PowerPoint because when you export it out, this whole thing is just seen as one thing.
So those text objects are Bluebeam text, but the boxes are PowerPoint boxes.
Yep. This is all one thing. Well, in PowerPoint, it's multiple things. But when I brought it out, exported it out, right, it's seen as just one thing, one singular item. Any questions? Yeah. I like PowerPoint if you're more of a graphics person, right? So let's go through. I'm gonna delete some of these things here. Control Z. So as you're going through and deciding how you want yours to lay out, you can just create what page size you want to, right? Essentially, you need to have a home page. That's what you're going to create first because you're going to also make that as your template as you're starting to copy things out down to other pages. Does that make sense? So however many pages you think you're going to have in terms of like home, drawings, architectural, RFIs, submittals, site plans, contact, right? As you're having these pages, you need one to start out with and you copy them over, right? At a point, and then you start filling in from there. So how did I make my outline so far from here? This is just a simple markup. It's a rectangle with a fill pattern. Then I can start filling in with some additional items like another fill pattern, right? To start getting creative on how I want things to look. I can also go through and start doing things like a image, right? So that's just an attached image here that was brought in for my logo. These are also just text items that were added in as I went through. Now, when we're starting to go through and place things too, a really great thing to keep yourself organized. And I think I remember showing you this too, Jason, at one point, and you were like, "Oh, wow," um, is using the align feature. So as you're starting to place things, it's I don't know if it's more of just the designer part, but when things don't align, you're like, I don't know what's happening here, right? They're not
I'm that
going
way
in.
with misspelled words, and that's really bugging me that safety is misspelled. And it's not aligned now. So we're just triggering all sorts of OCD today.
Yes.
Throw an E in there for me.
Okay, 1 second. But if I'm moving things around, I can select these, right? So if I hit shift here, you can right click and say alignment, right? And as I go through, I can use my alignment items. So I can distribute these vertically or horizontally on how they're going to be aligned. So alignment tools are great for using the way you want them to lay out. Does that make sense? So they're going to distribute equally equidistance between each other, not the page. So you need to pick a point at first and then move it, right? And
Such
then
a cool
equally
tool.
distribute them. So again, just some great hidden items that you have going through. So let's go back to
That's
this one.
that's a tool that I always forget about.
Yes. And as you get ready to start place things, let me move that back here. We dock next to that one. I can move these up. So you can multi-select just by holding shift. Move this one up a little bit. You want to have your layout for your buttons, right? So as we saw my finished one, let's actually bring that up here. We'll just go to the next page. So you can have the open of different selections for a text around it. So a rectangle, this rectangle is just for reference. So when I'm going to insert like that image that Jason was talking about, I have that ability to select from a corner to a corner to insert things from, right? So reference in terms of what things and how things are going to be organized are great. You can also group these. And when you start creating your buttons, how you want to, like I had earlier, which was just the white area. So if I wanted to create a text that has a background already in it, right? Like the white or whatever fill color you want to have behind it, you can reuse that because we all have the markups list, right? So as I'm starting to make my buttons like I did before, there's my text, right? So just like that, I already have my buttons being ready to laid out. And now I can copy these over to reuse them again. Because I know some questions are going to be, well, hey, Mike, is it really complicated to remake them every project? It actually isn't. Because once you start going through and you create a tool set specific to these buttons, you have that ability, right? So as before, you have two different types of markup styles. You have to reuse them. You have properties mode or drawing mode. So again, I just went into my old dashboard, started clicking things, if you remember, and I could reuse. The same markups, right? Like the safety that's spelled incorrectly, that's bugging Jason a lot. Or my contracts, right? So as I go through and select these recently used markups, I have all of them, or my images, which is just an image I brought in, right? So I have this ability to go through and select this image that was brought in earlier. It's definitely going to need to be scaled to a different manner, but hey, it's brought in. There's my image. Now, hey, Mike, how did you get it to jump to somewhere, right? Those are definitely questions that need to be answered. If I select a markup, an image, or anything that's been brought in, you can right click it. From there, you have this ability to go down and look at what we call actions, right? So if I go down, I can see edit action right here. And when I click it, it gives me the ability to do something. So from here, again, your action can jump to somewhere. So as you saw me flip through pages, that's what I had. So under drawings or something, it jumped to a new page that I told it to, right? So when I clicked architectural, it jumped me to somewhere else, like the sheets for architectural, which was actually just the drawings page. And I said, jump to that page. Or a space. So you can pick a space, or a snapshot. So you can grab something and say, jump to here directly, or a hyperlink. So this is where Drive would come in, right? So you can hyperlink to a Google Drive and it opens up that Drive location.
Or any web link or any other web address, right?
Yep, just like the weather, right? Or if your phone list is in like an Excel document, wink, wink, it could open up the Excel document.
Right.
If it's native and it's in the same location, that's why I always recommend doing a studio project, because you can store any file type pretty much, right? So if it was in Studio Projects and it was in Excel, if I opened it, it would open it natively in Excel on your own desktop. Now, one question is going to be, okay, so if you say open from something here, Mike, how did you open to a folder that was in a project? Because when I do it, I only see this, right? So that is done. Do you remember how to do that, Jason? Because I think I've seen yours do that.
I missed what you did because I was looking at my dashboard because I have a question for you. So what were you showing?
So when I go to here and I hit edit action, and I'm acting as if I'm someone new to it, if I hit open to a folder, why does mine not have this, but it only has this?
I don't know.
Okay, so it's under preferences. So natively, when you hit file open, everyone sees their Windows Explorer, right? I see this window. This window is because
Oh.
I can open from my disk or from a project. That's why my window is a little different, and that is set up in preferences.
I'm going to change mine to match then.
Okay, mine is set up in preferences to Studio.
Okay.
And I have the open and save files as Studio from toolbar only deselected.
Oh, mine is selected.
Yep.
That's a good one. I like it. Okay.
And that's only if you're going to use Studio Projects as your storage solution, right?
Oh, and then you just hit open for. Oh, okay. I like that.
So
I learned something new today.
Yeah, you deselect that in order to open to a project location, right? But then, as Jason has said before, we do training here. It's a little bit complicated because everyone's like, well, hey, Mike, mine doesn't do that. It won't.
That's where we don't mess with preferences very often.
Yeah.
I like that. So there's a comment here from John that I think is very, very important. And this kind of goes along with where you are in your process here, Michael, with laying this out. The comment is for firms with internal marketing department. So DJ CJ is probably listening intently right now. Or if we have brand standards like colors or fonts, it's important to collaborate with your internal marketing on the dashboard appearance early, because John started a dashboard for an internal training manual and found out much later that there was a user interface expert on staff. So getting to edit all those things after you've created those actions can be tricky. So by all means, use your marketing department, figure out what colors and fonts you should be using to make it standard, because these are things that are usually shared with other external firms, and you want to, carry on your branding.
Yep.
Good comment. Thanks for that.
Opening a studio project. What's your question?
Where are you seeing questions?
No, what's your question, Jason, from that you had?
Oh, and I think you answered it through the preferences there. When I was laying out my dashboard, I didn't have that ability to extract that link from the studio project.
Yep.
So I was trying to figure out how to get that to show up. But by changing that preference, now I have that link that I can navigate directly to my studio project, which will make my dashboard that I'm working on much better.
Yep. Great. Then, do I have one with the button? I do. Okay, so I'll just briefly explain this. We're not going to go over in depth and talk about the JavaScripting behind it, but there's a dual form list here that has buttons. So I know I've used buttons loosely as a term, as an explanation of an action, but actually buttons are completely different in Revu when you're using forms. So in order to use a form button, which you can create natively in Revu, you create these two buttons that have JavaScripting associated to them here. So one click does something, which is assigned to a layer. I know I'm going in deep. And then this is assigned to a layer here that assigned to this. So when I said this, turn this layer on, turn this layer off. See how that turns it off and on? Yeah. So this button actually controls my layer here that has scripting behind it as well. And these buttons here are the ones that have the scripting host page to them. So yeah.
Oh, that's too sneaky. I like it.
So incorporating layers, we did layers last week, and I totally didn't remember that I did layers with this until I went back and looked at it, and I was like, oh yeah, layers. So layers can be helpful in a lot of things, and so can buttons when they're used in this scenario. So let me exit out of there because it won't let me click it. Let's see how just selecting this on and off.
Mm.
Yep. Alrighty.
So many sneaky things that you can do with this software. People think it's just for marking ups and red lines and open up PDF files, but we're getting deep in here. And as always, if there's any other questions about Bluebeam or what it can do, fire them away. Put them in the Q&A box, and maybe it'll be a topic for a future edition of our morning coffee review. Question here from Doug, since we're talking about layers and pages. Have you ever thought about putting your different pages on different layers?
So I could, well,
It's a tricky question.
yeah, because you could do it where just the whole page is, but I mean, it's one of those things where it's keep it simple, stupid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you don't want to over create things in your dashboard because you don't want things to ruin when someone else is in it, right?
Very true. All right, keep populating this thing.
Okay, so as we're going through, I'm going to insert another image. I have some here. Let me open it here so that Jason can see why I had them this way. Here's a bunch of branding stuff too. Why can't I select you? Oh, it's frozen. That's a Windows thing.
Oh, and I remember another question for you. Why? Yeah. So when I was laying my dashboard out, I was using links, and you are using actions. Is there a reason to use one or the other?
Yes, because links are their own markup. Actions are assigned to the markup that was being placed.
Ooh, okay. That's a good reason.
So let me go to here, images. So I have some images, and let me put the home button here. So as I click open to this image, remember how I had that, why did I put this box here? Because it can drag from the corner to corner. So you don't have to worry about it. So that you can have a same location, both of the ones that you're placing. But again, once you do this once, guess what, everyone? I would save these to my custom tool set. So then you can easily go back through and replace the same size as you're going through and placing for your new dashboard for your new project.
Oh, standards and consistency. I love it.
Yep. Or you could just remember this template, meaning, hey, I have these outlined at different naming conventions. I have this great outline. This is my template. And then I just start changing it right per how many pages that I need. So I can go through here and say, hey, there's my new template. Let me delete my pages. And then let me go through and copy these and just paste it however many pages I need for my new project and start changing it. Okay, so these aren't schedules. This is location. Right? And then from here, move on, so forth and so forth. Because this is how you create your pages too. You create your home page first, which is going to mimic the layout of your other pages. And then whatever buttons you don't need, like these in your next pages, guess what? I only need location here. Great. So let me go, well, actually alignment, right? Does it let me center document? Boom. And I can bring it down right there. Looks great.
All right, you went a little fast when you were pasting that page. Can you go over that step again?
Yep.
That was pretty cool.
Right click, copy. And then see how I have my blue indicator here? You can, it's a little blue line right there. See how it changes from side to side?
Yep.
That's going to tell me which side I'm going to be pasting it to, this side or that side. I'm going to paste it to the back side. Right clicked, hit paste.
That makes it way easier because I have seen folks go in and try to do a save as and then try to bring that one in, copy paste the whole page at once. It's a great way to save some time.
Yep, I can even do multi-copy. So 1, 2, and deselect that one. Hit copy, right? Hit paste.
There you go. Bonus tips, boys and girls. That's what we're here for.
Is there another question?
No other questions. If you have them, enter them in. Any questions over there on YouTube? We have our DJ CJ who's running relay between our two platforms as we live stream this morning. And for those of you thinking, man, it's early, you're right. We're going to be doing a West Coast edition starting in July. So look out for that. You won't have to wake up so early. You'll be able to join us at your normal Pacific time.
Yes. And we haven't talked about if we're going to do the same topic or not. But guess what, everyone? These aren't scripted. So you're going to get some different flavor on a different day.
That's right. Depending on who's in there and who's asking questions, it's likely going to be different, which is fantastic. Keeps us on our toes.
Yep. Non-scripted. We just have, I guess the only thing that it would be scripted per se is the title of what we're doing, right?
Mhm.
So it could be a completely different workflow on that specific title. Who knows? Great. So as I'm going through, right, so I have this background, and these are specific to allowing me to align things. Again, I can go through and click from here to here. Now I know my markup is correctly placed. I have the ability to say whatever color I want to for whatever I'm going to be placing. These are just the background. Also, when you place in images, by the way, a little tangent, you can place background images here for like the type of background for your company standard. Let me go to here. I have some here, pictures. Because maybe I wanted this ATG logo here to be my background.
Like a
You have
watermark?
things, yeah, you have things called draw order. So you have the ability to right click and do a draw order on where it's supposed to be. So I can send it to the back, but I don't want this gray one to be all the way up because then it's going to be overriding my background, right? So, and I should probably change all of my colors for things that are being imprinted here. But again, you can go through and change the draw order on how you want things to show up.
So Michael, earlier you had talked about using PowerPoint to lay this out, and then now you're doing it all natively inside of Bluebeam Revu.
Yeah,
If
because we're
you were
in
doing
review.
this yourself, are you going to do PowerPoint every time?
No.
You're going to stick to the review stuff and then create a custom tool set that has all of your icons and stuff in it?
So I guess that's a twofold question. I answered it too quickly. So if you want more of a graphic-y interface and you don't have images to bring in, PowerPoint's going to be quick because it has, well, actually it wasn't quick because you have too many colors and shades and opacities to play with. Review is quicker because I'm picking two-tone colors that I'm just going through and not trying to make it look super over graphic-y would be my answer for that one.
There you go.
And you can just insert specific images you need, right? Like our company logo behind here, picture logo of buildings, right? That I wanted to have in here. I wanted that. I wanted our company logo here as well. So things as you're bringing in and deciding how you want your interface to look. I even did one first for when we were doing the ATG one internal. I had some like laid out this way. So they don't have to be mimicked the way you have them, right? But it's just how you want things to look. You can reorganize things. You can have buttons over here. Again, you are the creator. Unless you have an internal marketing team that requires it to be a certain way, like that. Who is that, Travis?
That was John.
John. So just be aware that probably, yes, seek out guidance if there is a specific standard you already have in place. If you don't, hey, guess what? You are the creator. So go through and create how you want things to look yourself. And you can organize it this way and have things that says projects or things that kind of word down this left side versus being at the top location.
Okay, question. Talking about company standards and branding consistency. When I'm using Review, there's only a handful of colors that I can change things to. Is there a way to access more colors like you can in PowerPoint?
You can use the eyedropper, and I'm pretty sure you can select from here as well.
There we
So
go.
out of these, I use the eyedropper specific for like the gray tones because I wanted the gray tone to match something. So
Mhm.
if you go into here and you're like, I need that, right? Let me use something.
Because our normal ATG logo is
I'll just do
3
this.
shades of blue, and that
Yeah.
color, that exact color blue, isn't native there in Revu, and it's hard to find.
Yeah. So
Use
if I
the
want this
eyedropper.
blue, yeah, the eyedropper, bam.
There you go. Getting deep in the weeds today. Super advanced review stuff, but that's fun.
Yeah, let me see. Do
Next
this.
week it'll be a totally different topic. Oh, that's pretty.
So bottom right, everyone look bottom right, not where my eyedropper is. Bottom right of my review, it shows you a pre-selection of your color. See the bottom right, how it's changing colors? Don't look at my eyedropper, everyone. Look at the
I
bottom
know
right.
it's hard.
Okay.
Very cool though.
But yeah, you can see, I can even grab a cloud, the blue behind the cloud, right? The mountain that's over here. So it's pretty cool that you have that ability natively. Let me bring it
Mhm.
right down here in review. Let me re-click the box I want to fill it with. You can see it's starting to change.
So very handy tool. If you know you have company colors and standards that you need to follow, you can take an existing document, use your eyedropper tool, populate certain colors that match so you're consistent with your branding.
Yep.
Very good stuff. So can you go back? So we've done hyperlink, right? And you jump to a
No
folder,
actions.
actions.
Yep.
But you had to open up a folder.
Yep.
How did you do that 360 one where you had the icon of the building that was shaded? Did you just draw the area?
Oh yeah. So you mean, oh, okay, the site plan you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't have the site plan in here. File, open. Second here.
Since we're getting into the weeds, I figured I'd ask that question because that's a little bit more advanced thing upon advancing upon the things that we're already talking about today.
Yes, I agree. Where are these? I'm trying to remember where it was. Here it is. Let me open this one from here.
Now, if you had something in here that wasn't a PDF file, if like you had site plan, would it open up? Did you make it open up something in Revit or Word or Excel?
Sorry, what was your question? I
Can you
was
make
thinking of
those?
this and I tuned you up.
I know because I'm sidetracking you. Um, the actions that we're doing, they don't have to just be PDFs, right? We can make this open up Excel and Word and Revit and all those other things as well.
Yes, any file type. So this is just drawn. So it's an actual outline. So if you wanted to go through and do a polyline is what it is. I'm just clicking like this, right? So
Mm-hmm.
bam, bam,
And that is a
bam.
raster graphic, not a vector graphic.
Correct. And I'll just do a short, like, there we go, right? And then I just filled it. So you're making your 3D image yourself.
Can you fill?
Actually,
You
it
have to
was
use a
a
polygon.
polygon.
Yeah, I was
Sorry,
gonna say,
not a
how are you gonna
polygon.
fill a polyline? But I was just letting you.
You let me do my thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that's a great way to add some more content because again, these dashboards are all about having somebody get in there and quickly identify the information that they need to see.
yep, and these are just little icon symbols with a markup. So I ungroup them.
Oh, is that a custom symbol or is that native to Review?
This one isn't. No, this is custom, right? It's an image just like my other ones, but this is just an ellipse. an ellipse made to look like a circle.
There you go.
Well, let's get a pulse on how the audience feels about dashboards. Is anyone using dashboards? It sounded like John was. Does anyone have any more questions? Again, what I walked through was a high-level quick overview. The dashboard white paper. Let me just get the link.
It's in the chat. If you scroll up, there is a white paper link.
Oh, okay.
And in addition to that, the Bluebeam blog that was published yesterday. Both of those links are up in the chat.
Great. Yep. And the
for those
blog
on
as well.
YouTube, I don't know if those got relayed over there, but you want to open that up in the Bluebeam web browser.
Yep. And again, white paper and blog are free. Talks about the structure, how things should be organized in the blog. And then in the white paper, it's more of an instructional layout of how I would create these. I did not include in the white paper the buttons and layers for the JavaScripting, so that is not included there. So you won't have the buttons, but feel free to reach out to us if you want to learn how to create flyout pages for specific things in a project.
Excellent.
Have the links on YouTube.
Yeah, the links are in YouTube land, and it will also be sent via email along with this recording. So very cool.
Nice. It's our DJ CJ over there.
Yep. This episode and all of our past ones are all on our YouTube channel as well. And again, if you have any ideas of what you'd like us to talk about, certainly just type them in the chat always, or at the end you will be given a questionnaire. If you have a topic like dashboards or signatures, type it in. It helps us come up with the content that you guys want to see. So we are here for you all and for the Bluebeam community that we're trying to build. We realize everybody uses this software differently. So let's share and learn from each other and make our time inside of Bluebeam Revu that much better.
Yep. And utilize the reviews. We can't become better at doing these without some reviews. So like if you don't like my hair, let me know. Or if you don't like something in the background, let me know. Again, we can't be better at what we do if we don't hear from you all. So please let us know how we are doing. This is for you, the community, as always. So feel free to give us some suggestions.
Speaking of backgrounds, my background is different because I'm actually in our Minneapolis office today, but I will be back home next week. But I'm noticing some differences with Michael's background, and let's just throw the teaser out there that maybe you want to pay attention to it. That's all.
Yeah, a little underslide. You may want to pay attention to things changing or not changing.
Yeah.
Because there may be something, but okay. We are 1 minute in. Any other questions before we end it for today? If not, be on the lookout for our another video of what we're going to be talking about next week in our next morning coffee review. We hope to see you all here. Again, always join 15 minutes early. We have a little banter. Jason and I talk. You all can come in and talk to us and ask us any questions or just say hi and have some coffee with us.
We're talking about the return of office coffee versus my home coffee. So, things like that, and decorating offices, just whatever. It's a chance for us to all interact that way before we get started on the actual topics for the day.
Yep. If you want to ask what kind of plants I have, totally. Or what kind of LEDs I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
Bring your coffee to work much better. Yeah, Doug.
If you only had one of these fancy Bluebeam Yeti coffee mugs, that makes taking coffee from home to work that much easier.
Doug does. He just showed you up, Jason.
Oh, nice. Well, morning cheers for coffee then. All right.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone.
We will see you next week.
Yep. And we appreciate all of you. So have a good rest of your week and a good weekend. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you.
Take care.